Starting in 1989, Freedom Party started recognizing the people who, as Paul just said, make the effort to work for freedom. There are people in this room I feel should get the Order of Canada for the work they've done to highlight our heritage, our freedom, our values. They never will. You know they never will. Because for that very reason, they're fighting for things that we've lost in this country. You'll get the Order of Canada if you help somebody who falls through the ice. That's fine. You will not get the Order of Canada if you expose the policing efforts down in Caledonia for being race-based. One law for them, the other for us. I think Mark still has his bracelet marks on there from the handcuffs. That's just today. Wait till next week. Mark will never get the Order of Canada. He certainly deserves high accolades from this country for doing what he's doing. Gary McHale as well. Mary Lou Ambrogio as well. Other people in this room as well. Bjorn Larsen as well. They won't get those kinds of recognition, so it's up to us to give it to them in whatever little way that we can, because they certainly deserve recognition. So starting in 1989, Freedom Party started to give out a very token of appreciation for some of the work that people do. These little pins here. It's not the Order of Canada, but I wear it proudly. It just says Freedom Party. Because that means something to me, and I think it means something to the people in this room who work for freedom. Because that's a nasty word these days up in Ottawa and in Queen's Park. So, to continue the tradition, I'll ask Bob Metz and Paul McKeever to come on up. Bob's going to introduce the names of those in the room tonight and the criteria for receiving pins. And Paul will hand out the pins. So if you guys want to come on up here, oh, you're going to talk about it first? Sure, okay.
Thank you, Robert. I'm wearing one right here. That's what we call the Freedom 200 pins. Sort of a strange name for the pin, you might wonder. The reason is there's only 200 in existence, and there only will ever be 200 in existence. It's Freedom Party's first icon, our first, our first logo, if you want to put it that way. And it was very simple, very generic, very much like the buttons that are on your table right now, where you just see a Canadian leaf and the provincial trillium. And that was all they were meant to represent. And the people we awarded them to were people who went a little bit above the natural call of duty for what you would do for a political party. And that means either being a candidate, doing some special effort on part of the party. But the big thing to do to get one of these pins is you have to show up at a public event to have it awarded in front of other people. So even if people have been very active with the party for a while and never ever came to a public event, you won't see this particular pin on them, because that's being seen in public. Believe it or not, when you're appearing at an event like this, that's a tremendous show of support. You're making a message. You're telling other people what you think, what you're willing to look at in terms of supporting. And with that in mind, I should point out that people only ever get one of these pins. And so I don't want to leave out the people who have already received one. And there are 5 people in the room right now who have already received one, and that includes myself, Robert Vaughn, Silvio Ursamarzo, you're here right there, want to stand up, Silvio, and Paul Blair, standing there, and Rob Smink is at the back there. You guys all have your pins that, I don't know if you still got them, but you were awarded the first batch of pins way back in 1989. So just so that you know we haven't forgotten you, you're definitely on the list, and it's not something we'll ever forget. Rob there, by the way, has been with Freedom Party longer than I and has run in every single campaign that Freedom Party has ever fielded in, starting in 1985. Isn't that right, Rob? No, well, we started in 84, but the first election was 85. That's right. So thank you to the 5 of them. Now I have another bunch of pins to award for today. And the first one, believe it or not, is to someone who hasn't received one yet, and that happens to be Paul McKeever. Come on up. We haven't done this, believe it or not, since about 1999. And Paul, there's the pin. Comes in a little box like this. And it's something for you to wear on your jacket there.
I'll just say very quickly.
You're talking to me.
Yeah, I'll just say very quickly. I remember seeing in the Freedom Flyers when I was a student receiving them, seeing these Freedom 200 pins and thinking, I'm going to earn one of those. The son of a gun kept me waiting all this time.
By the way, just so you know who some of the other people who have won this award or received one of these pins, the last person that got one before Paul, we haven't done this since, believe it or not, 1999. It's been that long since we've gone to this process. And the last person that got one was Rory Leishman, of all people, in London, Ontario, who, when he was speaking at a Freedom Party dinner, got awarded one because Rory was one of the few people in the media that gave us a lot of attention and also gave the person we were helping at the time, Elijah Elias, before the Human Rights Commission. He actually was writing at the Free Press at the same time the Free Press was on the other side of the issue. And of course, Rory is no longer with the Free Press. They parted ways, and when that happened, I invited Rory to be a guest on our show on Just Right. And if you want to hear what happened there, you can hear that on the show as well. Other people who have received the award in the past have included some very interesting people. Dr. Walter Block, when he was senior economist at the Fraser Institute. Michael Emmerling, an activist and motivator from the United States. Mary Lou Ambrogio, who was the very first founder of the registration of this party. Professor Ken Hilborn. The late Murray Hopper, who was one of the founders of the party and wrote a lot of our earliest literature. The late Jim Montag, who was the head of the London Middlesex Taxpayers Coalition in London, and we worked together endlessly for hours on end, and we won almost every issue we went into. The late Tom Offner, who probably should have received an award. He just passed away last year. David Pengelly received one, and he's passed away too. He left $50,000 to the party when he passed away. And so we actually named an award after him, and it's the Pengelly Award. Dr. William Peterson from Washington, D.C. came up. He's an advisor to countries around the world. And of course, a whole host of other people I can't possibly get to this evening. But that's just some of the people who have received this award. They haven't all been hardcore Freedom Party people or anything like that. But certainly the awards are there. So now, we would like a bunch of you to get up now, and we're going to be giving all of you a pin, especially if you just appeared or were a Freedom Party candidate in this recent election. And among those names I have with us, and we'll ask you to come up and just form a line here. Is that how we'll do it? Paul, and then Paul will give you the list. And here are the people we want to have get up now. Let's see them all. Andrew Brannon, Franz Kauke, Brian Goodwin, Ted Harlson, Tim Hodges, Charles Alito, Matthew Oliver, Wayne Simmons, Andy Stivrins, Douglas Tom, Mary Lou Ambrogio, Christopher Goodwin, and Erin Gorman. All these folks ran in the election, in this past election, and haven't received one before, so let's give them all a hand.
Congratulations. You didn't have to wait as long as I did. Brian, congratulations and thank you.
I was only 7 when you got your first
Congratulations and thank you. You have been putting in a lot of time. Thank you. Ted, congratulations. Thank you. Matt, congratulations. Charles. Warhorse. Douglas, thank you so much. Mary Lou. Thank you. Thank you. Erin. Thank you. Chris. Tim. And special thank you to you for your always helping with my campaign. And Andy. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations all.
Yes.
Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody.
I think you got everybody, yeah. Okay, thanks. Who's next? Robert?
I think you got my notes there, Bob.
Did I?
Yeah,
Sorry.
right here.
Sorry.
Should we just go right to you?
Sure. That's I can take her down.
You take it, okay.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, earlier in the evening, Freedom Party President Robert Metz, he likened the freedom we seek to a destination. And he likened the principles that must be followed to railroad rails, that take us to that destination, freedom. However, knowing where to go and how to get there is not enough. To ride the rails to freedom, we must have locomotives that pull us all along in the right way. In other words, Freedom Party members and supporters must take an active role in recruiting Freedom Party candidates, in helping to raise funds and promote their campaign, in helping them to collect signatures and get them on the ballot. We must step forward to help put 107 passenger cars on the rails so that every voter has the opportunity to ride the rails to freedom. The people who step forward and assume that responsibility are the locomotives, to which those 107 passenger cars are attached. Such people are the engines that pull the rest of the cars along the rails to freedom. And during the election of 2011, we had more candidates than ever and more people than ever recruiting and supporting them. But tonight, Freedom Party honors two individuals who certainly gave over 100%. Among other things, they recruited candidates, hosted candidate training sessions, organized Freedom Party's first ever money bomb, organized teams of volunteers to help ensure that Freedom Party candidates got their names on the ballot. 57 of them, a record number. Soon to be married, they were and continue to be powerful locomotives indeed. And so I now ask Chris Goodwin and Erin Gorman to join me here to receive Freedom Party's Locomotive Award. I'll just pull it out so you can all see Erin's anyway. They're similar for the two. The Locomotive Award presented to Erin Gorman and to Christopher Goodwin for exceptional and successful efforts to recruit, motivate, and assist Freedom Party candidates and supporters in election 2011. Congratulations, Erin Gorman. Congratulations. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Not prepared.
Well, I think your smiles say it all anyway.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm so proud to be here.
And we're happy to have you, of course.
I'd probably only say that maybe something that hasn't been said in a while, but the greatest thing to do is openly break an unjust law. Find one and just break one. I miss Mark Emery, of course. I love what he did.
And Mark, by the way, although he doesn't know about these awards, he does know about the dinner, and he's wishing us all well from his happy abode in Mississippi. Thanks again, folks. Now, even trains pulled by locomotives, the mightiest locomotives, will not move an inch without fuel. Money fuels the train to freedom. And those who contribute that money are the train's firemen, putting the coal in the engine, feeding the fires of freedom, bringing the train to life, and giving it the motive power to reach its destination. And tonight, Freedom Party would like to give long overdue recognition to a grand fireman indeed, a man who has provided more fuel more frequently and often just at the most important times than anyone I know. He is a fireman extraordinaire, a former officer of Freedom Party, currently a provincial councillor, and a man I'm proud to call friend. And so I now ask Mr. Paul Blair to join me here to receive Freedom Party's Fireman Award. I'm going to read it for you. The inscription on this reads, "Presented to Paul Blair for his unyielding financial commitment to freedom's success."
That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
actually say a word?
No.
In the beginning of every great movement is the Word. And indeed, for those involved in trying to effect social and political change, the expression of the Word is almost the only tool any of us has. Every enemy of individual freedom knows that. And for that very reason, every enemy of individual freedom knows that their most pressing task is to silence the advocates of freedom, to shout them down, to defame them, to otherwise prevent them from being heard. And so on the front lines of the war against the Reds stands the defender of free speech. Tonight we are honored to have among us a woman who has done more to defend freedom of speech than any I know. She defended free speech on the campaign in 2011 as a candidate in London North Centre for Freedom Party. But that's only one of her many contributions to defending free speech. You see, the woman I'm speaking of is a networker extraordinaire. She's a team builder. She's a liaison. And so wherever she has found voices silenced by Reds, she has built for them connections to organizations and to individuals who can help get the message out, including not only the International Free Press Society, but also numerous radio and television shows, including Bob Metz and Robert Vaughan's radio program Just Right, and Freedom Party itself. And speaking, of course, of Mary Lou Ambrogio. Now, some of you may not know this, I think they were introduced earlier, but we have among us tonight some of the very people Mary Lou has assisted when their attempts to speak out against injustice or racism or anti-Semitism or terrorism have been muzzled by violent crowds, by unwarranted arrests, or by a mainstream media that too often has turned a blind eye to their efforts. I ask these gentlemen, Mr. Gary McHale and Mr. Mark Vandermaas, to join me here at the podium at this time. Gentlemen, if you'd just stand to the right of me, please. We also have among us two, as I learned tonight, of Mary Lou's fellow freedom fighters at the International Free Press Society, one of whom is asked to come up and say a few words, Mr. Bjorn Larsen. And I ask him now to join me here also. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I ask Mary Lou now to come up to be recognized and be rewarded for her efforts. Let's give her a warm round of applause, everybody.
Freedom Party Life, Liberty, Property Free Speech Award presented to Mary Lou Ambrogio for a dedication to the promotion and defense of freedom of speech. Freedom Party of Ontario, April 21st, 2012. In the beginning was the Word.
Well, I'm really embarrassed, and what I usually like to do, I like to be sort of a background person. Even in all of my political experience, I tend to be sort of a backroom person. I don't like to be up front, but I do want to say thank you. It's a tremendous honor to get this, actually, from people who understand how important this is. We've had the advantage of being able to have people on Bob and Robert's show, and it's been fantastic. So I thank you for this. I thank you for the recognition, and I really appreciate it. And thank all of my fellow freedom fighters. They're a lot of fun to get arrested with.
Congratulations.
Now, Bjorn, did you want to say a few words?
I think I should.
Come on up.
Thank you. I am also a background person, but I can't resist. And before I say anything about Mary Lou, though, I'd like to pay kudos to the Freedom People Party here in Ontario, and actually bring a message from Geert Wilders in Holland, who obviously has another Freedom Party, and to let you know that his government has just fallen and collapsed in Holland. They will call new elections. And we will see how that goes. They negotiated or tried to negotiate, an extension of the deal they did 2 years ago. And they failed because they were trying to cut a deal that Geert couldn't accept, so they pulled the plug. And the government is therefore collapsing. And as you also may know, Geert's party has recently put together a report that suggests that Holland leaves the euro and goes back to the guilder. These are revolutionary times. And Europe is on the brinks of a serious financial disaster. We'll see what happens. But clearly, Geert succeeding a couple of years ago in Holland should be an example to the fact that it can be done, even with a very unpopular message in a very liberal country. And we have a lot of Dutch people in this province. So there may be an opportunity to do something about that. Free speech. Mary Lou and I started the Canadian version of International Free Press Society back in 2010, 2009. And as you may remember, we started with Ann Coulter in Canada. That caused quite a ruckus. We got thrown out of Ottawa, but had a great London event and had a great Calgary event. And Mary Lou and I have, along with now Al Gretzky, and of course Eva Ruiten, have continued this work. And in that regard, I'd like to just remind you of what occurred last week to Lars Hedegaard in Denmark, where he was his court case for hate speech was appealed and landed in the Supreme Court. Where we sat last Friday the 13th against 7 judges, and he was found, not guilty and acquitted by all 7 yesterday. That's a great victory for Lars. And as you all know, also Geert Wilders' hate speech trial in Holland last year got thrown out. So that was also an acquittal. So there is hope, even with the human rights commissions and such like in Canada. Mary Lou continues to do the work of the free speech. I am moving more into the international thing, and I hope to be able to in fact make Mary Lou the president of the International Free Press Society of Canada soon, so we can hand that over and have her run the whole country, if we can assume that get the money to do so. As you know, she has the shoulders to carry the load. And I just want to commend her and Al and Eva for supporting us all in this battle. It is a tough battle, but without speech we have nothing. So congratulations. Thank you.
Wow, Freedom Party, and what a great time to talk about freedom and the defense of it. And thank you, Robert, Yvonne, and Bob Netz, and Paul McKeever for graciously allowing me to share some thoughts on one of the, I used to say, most amazing woman I've met, one of the most amazing human beings I've ever known. And I was asking Al Gretzky, who's the communications director for International Free Press Society today, how do I describe Mary Lou in just a few minutes? I don't have hours. I really don't. So he said you should pick some dictionary, go through the dictionary and find some descriptions. Some words, and so I did that, and then I said, well, I really have to put them in context. So I'm going to try and be brief, but here's some of the descriptions that I came up with. Kind, and if you turn to the dictionary, you're going to see her picture in every one of these places. It's a special dictionary that only Al and I have. Kind, generous, strong, determined, loyal, honest, uncompromising, patriotic, selfless, inspiring, farsighted, intelligent, brilliant, irreplaceable, humorous, fun-loving, resourceful, optimistic, courageous, strategic, bold, gutsy, a role model, especially for her children. She's a warrior, and she's also a team player. As you can see, she's modest, just amazing. I'm the founder of the Caledonia Victims Project. I'm also the founder of Israel Truth Week. I've worked in Caledonia for 5 years with Gary McHale and some other great people that I'll talk about in just a second. Eight of us were actually arrested. Gary's been arrested 6 times. I've only been arrested 3. But there are people in this room. 8 of us, the Caledonia 8, were actually arrested this year for merely walking down a county-owned road, and we were arrested and charged with trespassing. They had to drop all the charges, but 4 of the people that were arrested that day are in this room, and Gary McHale and myself, Merlin Kinraid over there, who's been our Caledonia liaison, and Bonnie Stevens there, and they came with their spouses. They came. Merlin's wife Pat is here. Christine McHale is there. She was there. Bonnie's husband, Larry, and my wife was there as well. And why are we all here for Mary Lou? Mary Lou was the first outside organization to, as she calls, connect all the dots and realize that Caledonia was the front line in a fight against the evil of the radical left, against the Marxists, against the anarchists, against the anti-Israel groups, against all of those who devalue capitalism and the West. She was the first. Not only does the first, you see, our measure after 5 years in Caledonia, our measure of someone is what are you prepared to risk to defend freedom? It's easy to talk about it. What price are you prepared to pay? She and Al Gretzky came to Caledonia and saw with their own eyes what was going on there. And afterwards, Al Gretzky said, I didn't think I was in Canada. They came and they put themselves at risk to stand with us, and Al Gretzky was there today while 2 of us were arrested again. And that is an amazing thing for us. I don't think you understand how amazing that is. And she and IFPS were co-sponsors of this amazing Caledonia No More Nightmares event up in Ottawa. And she really Mary Lou is so special, and IFPS is because they gave a voice to the victims. Because the left loves to silence the victims that they create, and they love to attack those of us who stand up and speak for them. So Mary Lou helped us give a voice. She hates the term, NGO, non-governmental organization, hates the term. But the left loves to use it, so we like to appropriate their symbols. First NGO to come to Caledonia and stand with us.
You're an NGO now?
Now, the last, now out of Caledonia, there were many.
Get them NGO monies then.
Yeah, we need some money, some tax monies. Out of Caledonia, one of the things that most people do not understand is that mixed in with all those anarchists and radical unionists are they all hate Israel. And as a result of that, we ended up meeting some really interesting people. I'd always thought that Jews should be the first people to care a lot about racial policing in Caledonia and these anti-Israel groups. And there was, because of Mary Lou, we were introduced to the Never Again group out of Hamilton, first Jewish organization to come and stand with us. Because of Mary Lou, I was introduced to the Jewish Community Center in London, and I met some wonderful people there. She introduced us to the Jewish Defense League. She introduced us to Rabbi Jonathan Hausman, a great friend of Geert Wilders, who spoke at our recent Israel Truth Week conference. Mary Lou introduced me to them. Introduced us to Bjorn. Introduced me to Dr. Salim Mansour. He also spoke at our Israel Truth Week conference. Introduced us to Robert Vaughn and Bob Metz, who had us on a radio show, and now the Freedom Party. All Mary Lou Ambrogio. I got a call. We're organizing I'm almost finished, I promise. On Monday, I'm going to take 50 people. I was contacted about Israel Truth Week conference by the Canadian Society for Yad Vashem. And they said, if you can get 50 people together, we'll pay for a bus to go to Ottawa to participate in the National Holocaust Remembrance Ceremony at the Canadian War Museum. And we managed to put together a bus, and I was honored yesterday when I got a call from my contact there, and he said, "We would like you to light one of the candles." And my parents lived under Nazi occupation, and main part of why I go to Caledonia is because of the lessons of the Holocaust. And I could think of no greater honor than that, and that honor is only because an amazing woman, human being, named Mary Lou Ambrogio came into our lives. And I'm really honored to, as are we all from Caledonia, to be among those who can call Mary Lou Ambrogio our friend and our ally. So thank you. I wish I had a couple more hours, but I don't. Thank you.
You can speak at my funeral any time. Good to see you, man.
I think I've just come up with some new ideas for future awards. There's so many people in this audience deserving of them. So that concludes this evening's events and awards. I hope you all enjoyed the meal and the speeches. And now I think that if we all just got together and had the next few minutes, the bar is still open. What time is it?
8:37. 9:37.
9:37? Okay, we got 23 minutes to hit the bar. Enjoy yourselves, everybody. Thank you for coming.